Okay, hi everyone. We are working on a design review of question function functionality. So let's see where we're at. Where should I start?
Well, if your CVS is updated, we can start with any of the symbols listed there. This is a continuation of a meeting from a couple weeks ago where we dove in deep on question interface, and I think we have some decent direction there.
Okay.
So it'd be productive to look at the version 13 updates on the other symbols.
Okay. Should I be running something in a prototype build or something?
If you have a 13 from the last week head branch build, that's good.
Okay. Should I be opening this notebook in that?
Which notebook?
This notebook, a big one on our
Oh, yeah. If you want to run the demos that we have in there, then yes. But
well, yes.
You don't need to. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's calling notebook button there, so it'll open up in the same session.
Okay. All right, let me see. Yep, am I up to date here? Okay, let's go. Open DocuTools. Okay, where should I start?
We could start with question object.
Okay.
Which for people on the live stream who don't know, this has been around since 12.3 in the last version, but it was kind of an early version there, and it's going to be filled out to become a more useful, interesting tool.
Good. So what should we look at here?
So let's see.
You seem unprepared. What are we really trying to achieve in this meeting?
So I design review for in general updates for this whole system in 13, which it has a significant amount of updates coming to it. So we want to look at the whole story.
Let's take it from the top. Where
from the top, the story is the Q&A form notebook. Yeah, workflow.
Right.
Is the main thing from the top.
Okay, but so now are we not looking at that here? Is that correct? This is the language level interface to all of that. Is that correct?
Right. If we want, yes. So everything that empowers that notebook is programmatically available this way.
So this submit, in this case, is an in notebook thing. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right. The answer key is in there. People who are clever enough to do an input form or whatever can see the answer key. Right.
That's glitchy.
Just that the background is white. Yeah, the whole thing is going to be white. Yeah.
Okay. Surely that should left justify there.
Schroeder, is that how the way it is in the design that you're implementing?
Sorry?
I think it's currently not like that in the design, but I'll double check.
Okay. All right. So what are we reviewing here?
So, I mean, we talked some about these names last time for the question interfaces. I don't think we need to dive into those again today.
Okay.
I guess that's.
So did you get renaming done or not?
No, we didn't. Most of this team has been on PTO most of the time since the last meeting.
Fine. Do we actually need this meeting, guys?
Yeah, I think it'd be good to look at the changes outside of the question interface. So
okay.
I thought there was more updated in this notebook, but I guess there's not. The main thing is that that note about question object accepting question interfaces as the first argument is kind of the.
I know, but we discussed that last time, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's go on to the next page. Let's go on to let's see, what should we look at next, Sylvia? Is there a good direction to go here?
I feel like assessment function
Okay,
has
I'm
stuff
not sure
that
what's updated there.
Okay. I feel like you guys don't need this meeting, which is good.
It is left justified in the design, by the way. So
Okay, so that's a mistake. Okay. Okay, what should we be looking at here?
Right. So there's that new usage there is sort of a weird design that we came up with. So an assessment function can have the answer key just built inline to it, but it can also be deployed to the cloud and backed by cloud objects so that the student
Yep.
can't see it. So then it's a cloud object. But a cloud object, in addition to just having a single assessment function deployed to it, can have an entire quiz deployed to it, in which case each question has a unique ID, and you can send an answer to that question object for assessment for a specific question. Not an
What
entire
is, if I
quiz.
did a get on that cold quiz cloud
It's-
object, what would I get back?
It's implemented as an external bundle, so you'd get a directory, something that represents. I don't know if it wouldn't give you a zip file; it would give you some abstraction of a directory.
Oh gosh.
Right. It does what it's implemented using external bundle.
Wow. So,
But
I
we
mean,
have
if it was
made
implemented
utility-
using an expression, then we could have something where that ID is somehow indexing into the association for an expression or something. But this is that's a wild animal there.
Right. But I mean, yeah. So for people who really want to dive into low level things, it's kind of annoying, but we're building high level utilities for doing the sort of stuff. You can use the assessment function here with the list as the first object, where it's a cloud object and an ID to refer to the deployed, the index within the deployed assessment function. Right. So if you want to give an answer to that specific question, that's the way you would reference it.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. This list of object IDs seems like a fine way to do it.
It's kind of horrifying, but I don't know what else we would do. And I think how would you deploy the whole quiz collection of assessment objects?
Using question deploy. Well, I mean, you would do it from within the notebook, the Q&A form notebook. There's, in the settings menu, you say deploy, and then you hit generate, and it does it.
I don't think it's great, but I don't have a better alternative here.
Okay.
I see on our live stream is asking, will style sheets include question object styles? That is specific styles for questions.
Schroeder, do you have an answer for that?
It's a reasonable question. It's certainly something that...
can you repeat the question?
Will our style sheets include styles specific to question objects?
I mean, it's a good question. Currently, they don't. So,
But they probably should. Has design even
Presumably.
looked at? I mean, this doesn't look very good, right?
We have an updated spec from design that
we
Schroeder's
do.
mid-implementation on.
Okay, but what is that updated spec? Is that cell then some other random kind of cell, and it just has an enclosed thing that has styles?
do you want me to
Would-
post the link?
If you want to, yeah. I think you guys are not well prepared today. You guys are often quite well prepared, but today you seem not.
That's probably true. It usually helps. Brady's here, but he's busy on a different meeting. And Sylvia and Schroeder were out most of last week. So I think that's, you're not off base there.
Good, I can tell.
Right. So
Okay.
it's going to be these white with the border instead of just gray. The left column is in an
Sounds okay.
in
But
an
I mean, I can
ordinary
imagine something where you might want different styles. And is there any way to do that, like with a style sheet? What is this picking up even? Do you know? Is it picking up styles from a style sheet or what?
Well, currently, no. It's just using like baked in stuff and default styles of the controls.
Right. So
Um,
that's something we should think about.
Right. We could put it all into a template box that's defined
Mhm.
in the global style sheet.
Sounds right to me. Okay. let's look at some more here. What else is there to look at here?
So, I mean, you were asking like, how would this get deployed outside of the notebook? Oh, so we've talked about cloud service deploy as a potential thing, but that doesn't exist yet. So we're creating a resource function. Do you care to look at the design of a resource function?
Well, I mean, cloud service deploy. Okay. Explain here. I mean, I don't understand. Does this design exist here? I mean, if I run this.
Yes, that's a resource function definition notebook. Right. So this is based under the hood is doing cloud deploy of an external bundle that has a bunch of different endpoints for interacting with the deployed assessment functions and question objects in different ways.
What the heck is this? Oh boy, I don't understand this at all.
Right. So if you have a question object with an
No,
assessment
I mean,
function,
this is horrifying. What is this doing? Okay, go ahead. What were you saying?
right. So with the answer key, when the answer key is in line, you need a way to deploy the assessment function to cloud. But then you also need to get back two things. You need to get back that cloud object that you deployed it to, and you need to get back a version of the question object where the answer key is replaced with the deployment. This function does that.
Okay. Look, why don't you return an association here? That's a precursor of cloud service deploy, what it will do.
That's exactly what it's doing.
I don't see an association.
Look at the first example.
Yeah, but this isn't an
Oh.
association.
What is that, Sylvia?
That's if it's only a single assessment function, not within
seems
a question object.
That's not right.
Okay.
You should return something with the same structure always.
Okay. Because those ones are very specific and strange because you couldn't really do that within a form notebook in that style.
Okay, look, just keep it consistent.
Yeah. Maybe we don't even want to document deploying an assessment function directly
Okay.
because it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Okay. But so where can you use this cloud deployed thing?
Anywhere. I mean, the question object that you get back, you could put that into a Q&A form notebook, or you could use it anywhere you want, right? And it's
So if I
backed by a
evaluate
cloud
it,
object.
if I take that and evaluate it. Oh, I'm so confused here. So wait a minute.
Right. So the idea for the one above where it's the full question object, that
Well,
question object has the cloud object replacing
why is it an image?
that assessment function.
Why is it an image here?
Oh, because the function resource tools do that for dynamic content because it shows up well when you deploy it.
I see.
Yeah.
So this question deploy produces a cloud object, which if I refer to it somewhere else, it
Right.
will then indirectly pull it in. So
Right.
in a question object, it will be able to pull it in here. Correct?
Right. You want the cloud object that you get back is primarily for like administration. If you want to change the permissions, if you want to delete it, right? That's why you would use the cloud object.
Yes.
The question object is what you actually want to take out of it for the primary purpose of creating quizzes.
Okay. Okay, what do you want me to look at here? I mean, so that design needs to be more consistent, and I think we understand that.
Yeah, the direct use on assessment function will fix that.
Okay.
Yeah, can we look at the index notebook? This is more of like, if you deployed it through the form notebook, this is what you would get back instead of the association.
Where do I find
The
that?
next one down where it says workflow demo. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't know why it's labeled workflow demo. That doesn't make any sense. So So when you create the external bundle, there will be an index.nb file in that bundle that this is basically the content
Of index.nb.
of index.nb. And we'll send this through design and get it prettied up, but just the content. If you have
God, this is
thoughts.
confusing. I don't understand. I don't understand this. I don't
So when you
understand.
click generate in the authoring part of a form notebook,
Mhm.
instead of it just making, so in the Q&A form notebook, instead of just making an authoring notebook, it gives you back this.
If cloud deploy was selected.
Right. Because the reason that we made this is because it's not clear what to do when you click generate and it just gives you back a notebook. It makes a lot more sense if you get back a little index that says, okay, here's where the quiz is located. You can share this URL. This is where the results are located. This is where you can modify permissions, etc.
Okay. Well, I think you should call the top one deployed quiz notebook or something like that.
Deployed quiz. Yep. Right. We haven't used the word quiz a lot of places, but it seems like the obvious thing to call this.
Well, let's not, because people may use it for other purposes.
Right. We spent 5 minutes trying to come up with a more generic term that still told people what it was, and I don't think we came up with anything better.
I would just call it deployed notebook. The heading at the top is certainly not demo quiz. It's presumably some name.
Yeah,
Where
that
did
is
name
Yeah,
come
yeah.
from?
that's an example. It could be in curly brackets here. That's just the name, the actual name that we put in the authoring notebook settings of what to call it, and that's a self link to. So this notebook that you're looking at would also be a cloud deployed notebook, and
Yes.
that would link to the cloud deployment. That's why it's blue, because it's a link.
Okay. But I would just say deployed notebook so you get around the question of whether it's called a quiz or not. Okay, but what does results mean?
So if you're the teacher, to use a specific term, how you get back the results of the students that have taken it so far.
Okay.
So we're
you
going to
should
create
say-
another resource function for importing a data set of results.
Okay, so you should say something like collector for submitted results or something. And you can also add a sentence of text if you want to.
Yeah, right. Like we did on the next one. We should have a
Yeah.
caption for that one. Yep, agreed.
Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, anything else on this?
Yeah, and we have the start of a guide page there at the bottom. If it seems reasonable, I can get that into CVS right away.
This one here?
Yes. We don't have a dedicated guide page for this stuff yet. In 12, we kind of put it onto another guide page where it's not particularly useful. So we should have a dedicated one.
Those are weird. I mean, well, okay, fine. I mean, I understand the okay, sure. I mean, it's a decent start. Okay.
Okay.
What's
the
next?
blurb, does the blurb at the top seem reasonable? Should I leave that in curly's or should we?
Oh boy.
I know you usually like to write those or rewrite
No,
them.
I usually don't want to. I actually prefer not to write.
Right, I like is the wrong verb. I know you usually write those.
I usually end up writing them. What do we want to
Yeah.
say here? What we want to say. So first of all, let's see. This should probably have a heading like setting up questions and assessments, something like that.
Yep. Sure.
Otherwise, it's like who's asking a question of who, of what, of whichever. No, I mean, you want to say something like, where's the course tools? I mean, there's no course here. This could be a survey for all anybody knows.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's definitely more generic than that.
For
but
defining questions whose answers can be submitted to a central, who's to defining questions that can be assessed or graded either locally or in the cloud or something. Then you can say the questions can involve a variety of interfaces from multiple choice to geographic locators or something. In addition, there's fully automated assessment, including, I don't know what feature you want to bring out of assessment. There's both I mean, you want to say something like there's both a language level way of setting up questions and assessments, as well as as well as Q&A form notebooks, which provide a notebook-based authoring environment or something.
Right.
Ethan is asking, has any dog eaten this food?
So yeah, dogs that eat similar food have been involved in the process. We're still very early. We haven't really put this out for real world testing yet. But yeah, we definitely have people in house who are.
Has the Wolf from You team used
who
it?
are dogs. They haven't used it, but we've met with them and we've told them our plans, and we've edited things based on their comments. It's definitely the goal for them to use it, because what they're using for quizzes now has.
Okay, Craig on our
improvement.
live stream notes that he's a professor, and that's why he's watching this, and he wants to see if he can use it in a class. That would be wonderful.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, look, this is, I think, connected to a whole bunch of things that have been done in various university systems and so on, including some projects that have been done for universities and so on. So this is not, but the problem is the dog ain't going to happily eat its food until the food is well prepared, and it's no good providing poorly cooked dog food. And I think when do we feel this dog food is going to be properly cooked?
13.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in a few months.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Right.
And I mean, it's
if
going to
people
be
on the chat,
experimental at
if people on the chat are professors and they happen to be in the beta program, we'd certainly love to connect with them.
Right. And I think, I mean, the problem is there's one of these things which can't really be tested until it's all there. And by the time it's all there, it might as well be released on an experimental basis.
Right.
Which is, I think, what we're planning to do.
Right.
I think it'd be interesting to I mean, I don't even know, like, what will be involved in making the EIWL exercises use this. Is that plausible or is that not plausible?
I think so. I mean, one of the comparison methods that we will have an assessment function is code, which will hook into the code equivalence.
Right. So that's
yes.
a productization of the code equivalence functionality that we used for EIWL. Is that correct?
The question is, what custom transformation rules have people put in there and transferring, making sure whatever special rules have been added for EIWL would need to be done. It wouldn't just be
who's dealing
this
with
global
that?
set of rules. I At one point, Rick was. I don't know who is
Okay,
now.
so who's PMing this?
This or E EIWL?
No, I'm talking about the using of the code comparison tool in the assessment function here.
Oh, I assume Addison. Addison can tell me if he's not
Okay.
PMing that.
Yeah, with help with Brady also. Yeah.
Okay, what else do we need to look at here?
I think that's good. I think we.
Okay, so the Q&A notebook, can I launch that here? Where is that?
No.
It's not in file new. Do you have that snippet of code? Oh no, it's not merged. That branch isn't merged yet, is it, Schroeder?
No, it's not.
So, okay, I just want to go through this workflow again. Okay, can you send me something that will launch that, or is there a easy way to get to it?
Schroeder, is there?
It would probably take me a minute. I'd have to
Okay,
find
but I
it.
just want to walk through this workflow. So the basic workflow is you go to File, New, and what are we calling it?
Q&A form notebook.
Okay. File, New, Q&A form notebook. In that notebook, you put a bunch of questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you author the assessment stuff? Is that also in that notebook?
Yes. Yes. And for simple assessments like multiple choice, well, it'll be templated and all GUIfied. For complex things where you're specifying custom tolerance measurements, you'll have to write some code.
Like if you, I think that maybe the easiest thing is to just go to that design that we had earlier. You
Wow.
can see the one that I posted in the Zoom chat.
Okay. Oh, no, but I know what's under design. I want to see the actual running thing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm really not that interested in this. I mean, this is,
Right. The other side has like the authoring, like what it looks like in the notebook, right?
Yeah. To the right. Probably just want to zoom out a lot.
okay. But that's a generated notebook.
Yeah.
Okay, let's walk through again.
There we go.
This is, okay. So what we're doing is we're bringing up the Q&A form notebook. Why is that one word? It shouldn't be. Right? You understand that, right? That shouldn't be one word smushed together. It should have a space, right? Do you understand or not?
Yep. Yep.
Yes. Okay, good. Okay. So we go here. I mean, is this the actual version that's running now, or is this some old design that we shouldn't bother to look at?
This is a new design that I'm currently implementing.
Okay. Okay. So question prompt assessment function. Okay. So the question prompt is, what is 2 plus 2?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this is what you get. How did you get this? That came from insert.
Yeah.
And
Insert multiple choice, right?
that's not multiple choice. This is a
Or
custom
sorry,
assessment.
no, that's a multiple choice. I mean, we maybe the tag assessment function should be changed to
Absolutely should be.
choices. Something
Yes.
like choices.
The question, I mean, I think, what is this? Look, why don't you say, edit this multiple choice question? Right? Do you have names for all the question types?
Yes, that's what we talked about last time. That
Okay, fine. So then
We're-
you
we're
should have a
revising.
human name for the question type. You should say, edit this blah, blah, blah question, right? Does that make sense?
yes,
Mhm.
Okay, then question prompt seems fine. And then here, it's, what is this?
choices.
Okay, in this case, it will be choices, but you need to write something custom for each type of question then.
Right. When we already have names for these things, in
But
code,
that's not
that
the assessment
might
function
need to
because
be.
that's not telling you which one is correct, right?
Well, there's the radio buttons are for that. You would select the radio button of the one that's correct.
Okay, then you should
That
say
should be communicated somehow.
choices. Yeah, it's hopeless that it isn't. Choices paren select correct answer or something.
Probably the top one should be pre-selected.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
No?
it shouldn't be pre-selected, because if you pre-select it, right, then every time people will fill this out. And I mean, if you say,
Mm.
if the confirm thing is hit and nothing has been selected,
Fine.
right, then it should complain, because then there's no answer.
That's fine.
Like
Yeah.
you can't win. The student can't win. There's no correct answer.
Okay. We can rely on the confirm button. Yeah, that makes
Right.
sense.
But I mean, what you need to do here is somehow you've got to indicate they've got to fill out both the choices and which one is correct. So you might want, I don't know what the other interfaces look like, but you might say correct ? As a heading for that column there. I mean, this is useless. Assessment function is useless. What you want to do is label these two columns. Correct ?
Right.
And this would be labeled
When you switch
choice.
to code, then the tag would be.
Well, that's
assessment
fine,
function.
but that's not
Right.
what we're doing here. This is
Right.
the GUI version.
Right. Yep.
So you need a heading, and then you need to indicate those two columns separately. Question from the live stream: how do you include multimedia content in your question prompt?
You would have to do that in the code thing. Like the
Why?
template mode is just for doing easy stuff, because, well, the reason is because input fields don't support you just putting, actually, maybe they do.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Well, theoretically, there's no reason you can't then.
We don't want people to have to put string characters around strings, though.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so in that case,
I'm sorry. What? Look, guys,
If
you
it's-
got to have a
if
solution here.
The
This
prompt.
isn't an
I
adequate
think the prompt
solution.
should be a string input field, not an expression.
No, I
input
don't
field.
think so. I think
Because
the prompt should be a piece of a
You
notebook.
shouldn't have to type string characters around
Of
a
course
string.
not. It should be a piece of a notebook, like other form notebook elements. And it shouldn't be some kind of impoverished string. Okay, there's no reason it can't be a piece of a notebook, right? Which can have any content you want in it. Am I making sense?
But then strings have to have string characters, right?
What are you talking about?
You have to put
It's a
double
piece
quotes
of a
around a
notebook.
string.
You're typing a piece of a notebook. You're typing a cell in a
Okay,
notebook.
I just don't understand. Maybe sure.
yeah.
No,
I'm not sure.
No, forget the fact that this is input fields. Okay, in a form notebook, you can have a piece of a form notebook that is a cell in a notebook. The cell can contain anything. How
Yeah.
it's packaged in order to be, wrapped up in the internal code is a different question. It might be in box data. It might have all kinds of string characters. That's a different question.
I just
I don't see
why
any
would
reason
you
to
use that.
impoverish this as being a string. It just seems stupid.
Well, I think most people probably want their prompts to be a string. And if they want to do something interesting
but-
like multimedia, they can just use the code version and then it's just all in a cell. So
Well, okay, but I don't think that needs to be that way. I mean, this can be just like a text cell. So they can enter an inline cell here and all that kind of thing. Why isn't this just a text cell?
It could be.
Why is it a
text cell.
string? Why isn't it a text cell?
If it works like a text cell, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, if it's a text cell, I think we're good. But then don't try and stuff it into an inputs field there. Similarly here, I mean, there should be
Yeah.
pictures. You could put in
Yeah.
pictures here and so on as well.
Right. I wouldn't know how to implement that as a text cell, but maybe
Oh, hey, fine.
Schroeder and Lou do.
That's a different issue.
yeah, I
Right.
have to talk to Lou.
Okay. So anyway, so what happens here is you create, so the question types are in the insert, which I can't see right now. Did you manage to get me a version that I can actually use?
There's not an easy way you could do it right now.
Okay, fine. All right, so this insert has a bunch of question types, right? Is
Right.
that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so then I'm entering a question. It's by default in template mode. And I really don't know why this isn't called GUI. Template is really confusing to me. Everybody knows what GUI means.
If everybody knows what GUI means, it should be called GUI.
I think so. I think it's less confusing than template. Okay.
I mean, do most teachers who use Mathematica know what GUI means?
Probably.
They're certainly not going to understand template because I don't even understand template.
I think if the ones that have it have this mode, if it opens into that mode by default, it doesn't matter too much what we call it, and
Yeah.
GUI's fine. Yeah,
Okay. Somebody's going to say, "What's that strange GUI animal?
exactly. That's fine.
Is it like
I
a
like-
GNU? Is it like
yeah.
a right?"
I really
I'm
like
calling
using your
graphical.
GUI. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the first step is you're entering questions here. What does tools have in it? Just random stuff for adorning questions in various ways, correct?
Mhm.
Right. Annotations and
Okay,
info
fine.
boxes.
All right. Check does checking. Generate. What does generate produce?
That produces the index.
Right. If you're cloud deploying it, which you should,
No. Wait a minute. What does generate have in it? What does it do? Can it produce? Can it do it locally? Is this the local
yes.
version
Yes.
of
So
what it
so
does?
there's that gear menu to the left of those where you can choose whether it's going to be cloud deployed or not.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, but
This-
generate does something by default. When it does something, does submit do something by default here?
Well,
That's the
if,
user notebook. That's the quiz or user. or
I
whatever.
understand it, but does so submit
Yes.
does a definite thing by default.
It assesses the it does the assessment. of-
Okay, all right. So here, that gear menu specifies what generate should do.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay, and the default is what?
It's not something we put thought into.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Well, what are the possibilities?
It's either so there's it can either the assessment can either live in the cloud or live in the notebook, and then you can either decide to have all the questions in the user notebook.
Okay, let me point something out. Okay, given that you don't know what the default should be, and I don't think it's obvious what the default should be, don't make generate just do some random thing set by, it's kind of like,
I
you
think
know,
I think the
aim
default
with
should
this
be.
at some-
I think the default should be assessment in the notebook all at once.
Yeah.
Right. So
okay, well, so fine. But I think what you should do with generate is produce some dialogue or some menu of what the possibilities are with one of them selected.
Okay.
Am I making sense? Don't have something where you have to indirectly decide what to do and then press the button here, because I think the probability you're right in what people want to do might be 30%, right? But that means you should have them
Right.
pick at the time
and we
rather
can
than just get confused.
we can track if they've said it and not force them to do it again. But
Sure,
If they
we
haven't,
can
if they
say,
haven't,
pick the no. They're going to click twice. It's not going to be enough to click once. So you can set the default under generate to be whatever they did the last time. Do you see what I'm saying?
yes.
Okay, don't have it automatically do it because it's not obvious what it will do. Make sense?
Yeah.
I can see the second click being annoying if you just set it in the settings menu. If you just open the gear and set everything and then you click generate, have it give
I
you
don't
that same
care.
menu again.
The way
I
that
don't
we
care.
have
Think
it,
about it. Think about it. This is a person who's just spent, it's like the publish dialogue for notebooks going to the cloud. I don't have a problem clicking a couple of times because it's a big thing. I just made my whole notebook. I just spent hours making the notebook. And then, and then I do this. It's no big deal that I have to click twice. It's not like I'm demon clicking this thing to redeploy it every 5 seconds, right?
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about it.
right?
So, okay. So then this generates, and you're a little bit muddled what it's actually generating here. That seems like there are 5 things it could generate.
There's
something.
there's two main configuration choices that you should make, whether it's local or cloud deployed, and whether all the questions are assessed at once or whether they're individually assessed.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Those are the two main choices.
All right. Okay. So then that generates a
there's-
thing.
yeah.
The generate returns to you something that presumably here in the GUI is something that is a bit like the publish dialog. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, it's bigger.
What do you mean it's bigger? It's returning to you a pointer to this notebook that is to be used by students to submit things together with something which is where you're going to get the results from. Is that correct?
I mean, so after the generate completes, what we're saying is if you did the deployment, you'll get one of those index.nb notebooks like we were looking at before.
No. Look, what you've got to get back is, number one, a URL to send your students. Number two, a URL to go look for the results that the things they submitted. Is that correct?
Yeah, those are two of the important things. Yes.
Okay. Have you designed what you get back by pressing generate?
That's what the index.nb notebook is that we were looking at earlier. It has those
I
things
see.
in it.
Okay,
Yes.
fine. Then I don't think
Yes.
that's the right thing, because I think what you want to do for that notebook is do things like, much like the publish dialog with like QR codes and click to copy and all that kind of stuff. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh, we had a click to copy in there. We could put a QR code in. That
I'm not sure the QR code makes sense because that will show the assessment URL as well, which is not what you want. Right?
No, the QR code would just be for the
I know that,
user
but
URL.
the point of having a QR code is so that you can say, I'm now going to publish in some talk, and people can see the QR code right then and there.
We could
Right,
have
so
a
that's not
separate
relevant.
page. We could have a separate page that's public that has a QR code that you could show on the projector.
I think that will be reasonable because that might be a useful thing. Here's your test. Rather than, if everybody's actually in a physical lecture room, if that ever happens again, it might be that they actually want to see the QR code. Everybody can hold up their phone and find out where the test is, so to speak.
We could have another endpoint that's just the QR code.
Possibly, yes. Okay, so then the students do their homework at some time, and there's not a lot of time gates for this. Is that correct yet?
Yeah, we definitely have talked about it. We have
Okay.
ideas about it,
All right. Okay.
and we're
So
recording
they-
timestamps. But we're not.
Okay. So
we don't-
they press their button, they submit the result, right? I don't know why they have a check button there. I mean, that's the
Yeah, they
self-grading.
the check and the question mark are both not right. They shouldn't be there.
Okay. All right. Fine. Okay. Then I press submit. The thing shows up in what?
So for the student, assuming
Just
that
says,
all
thank you for sending this in.
assuming the assessment is all automated, it marks up right and wrong answers and gives you.
Okay. Right
Doesn't
there.
look
In the,
great.
okay. So that's one of the options that the teacher has, is that submit can actually grade the thing right then and there.
Right.
Okay. But either way, it sends it in to the teacher portal, right? And how does it show up there?
Well, we have some tools built that we're going to publish a resource function for retrieving as a data set all of the results.
Okay. But what is the default thing? If you go to the URL that's specified in that page that I didn't understand very well at the beginning, if you go to that URL, what do you see?
The thing that was on the page was the code for the resource function that retrieves the data set. We don't have a web interface for
Okay.
reviewing grades yet.
Okay, fine.
We could add that at some point, but I
But you
think
can
in
also
language,
put it in a data bin too, which would just
Right.
be entries
could-
in a data bin.
that's true.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Comments from Craig here. Let's see. Okay, he's commenting on write some code to answer this or write an alpha query. Oh, I don't think we've thought about the Wolfram Alpha query case, have we? That's not that's a very interesting case. I mean, we've thought about code equivalency. I don't think we've thought about Wolfram Alpha equivalency.
Right. We have not. That would, I mean,
It's an
you could
interesting-
actually run the thing, but
Parser. You
it's-
could run the parser.
right.
Run the
Um,
parser, pick up the underlying structure. I mean, that's not and then do code equivalence on the underlying structure.
Right.
Because equivalence of the natural language is impossible, basically. I mean, that's super difficult. But that's an interesting idea, to have a Wolfram Alpha input field as a possible thing you can do assessment on. It's a good idea. Okay. Craig's commenting, be useful to make sure the question prompt can use the new tech input method. Yes, well, that's another good reason for it to be a cell. That's an excellent reason for it to be a cell. People
Yeah.
wanting to enter sort of non-interpretable math. Marco is commenting, the template should have slots to fill, like when you use autocomplete for functions. I see. You're suggesting that it used the placeholder things. I don't think that's this just needs a bit of redesign. This isn't quite right. It really needs to be much more cellular, so to speak. Neither in a phone nor a biological sense, but a different sense of cellular.
Right. Well, if you remember, we talked about question generator, I don't know, maybe a month ago as a perspective design, where that's our tool for like parameterized generated questions.
What does that have to do with this?
That's how I interpreted what you just said about slots.
Yeah, no, I think that's a different thing. But that's
Okay.
That's programmatically generating question function and assessment function objects.
Right. That's okay. I misunderstood
Yeah, I think that's a different
person's
thing.
question.
Right. Question prompt could have a suggestions bar. Yeah, that's somewhat interesting. And it's a piece of UI to just provide tools right there. We should think about that. That's an interesting possibility. Ethan asks, where do you put the student emails to send the thing to? So I don't think we are sending, I mean, we certainly could, and we certainly could provide a resource function to send stuff to a list of students.
Right. I mean, yeah, we couldn't create a tool that just calls sendmail. That's one line of code.
Right, but what isn't one line of code is maintaining the class roster.
Right. We're not trying to build an LMS. So I mean, they're going to be typing in the roster, right? But yeah, we could.
I'm sorry, what do you mean? And what will they actually do in the actual workflow? The actual workflow, they'll get back a URL and then they'll send it to their students somehow.
That's right. And typically they have,
but they have some way to post
where they can
the
post things to students already, right?
Yes.
That's a solved problem for universities across the board. I don't think we need to resolve it.
We don't need to solve that problem. Let's see. Marco's commenting, shouldn't generate be preview and then commit at the end to save into the cloud? Well, that has to do with what generate actually has underneath it, which we don't completely know at this point.
Having a preview tool that doesn't do the deployment might make sense.
Ethan is commenting that if the assessment is within the notebook sent to the student, then it is hackable. Absolutely.
Yes.
But that's the whole point. There are different cases where the assessment is only in the cloud versus the assessment is something that can be locally executed in the notebook. Now, in the case where it is self-grading, does it allow, it shouldn't allow you to, I mean, even if it's self-grading, it should still have the option to have the grading happen in the cloud. Am I making sense?
You mean report back to the cloud?
No. I mean that somebody receives a notebook. Okay, they've got their homework to do. Okay, they're like, oh, I want to make my homework look good. Okay, let me hack open the notebook and just find all the answers and just type them in. Or actually, if they're a little bit better, they just have a program that parses the notebook and reconstitutes a notebook with all the answers filled in.
Sure.
Okay. So my point is that would be avoided if the actual answering of the questions was, even if it is to be done in, even if the student is shown the answers after they press submit, that the actual transaction of, is this the right answer, would happen on the server. Do you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. That doesn't
Probably
fit
how
in
it
the
should-
design of assessment function as is right now. Either assessment function has the answer key in it or it has a cloud object in it.
Fine. So I'm saying you can put a cloud object into it, but still have the assessment be visible to the student. Do you get what I'm saying? Let me go through it again.
Yes.
You were
please.
sent a notebook.
Yeah.
Okay. If the notebook contains the answers in the code of the notebook, it is fairly easy for somebody, if they wanted to do it, to write a program that excavates,
Yes.
excavates the notebook, simply produces the result of the homework, which is the notebook with all answers extracted from the notebook itself, filled in as answers.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. So to avoid that, what we have to do is make it so that the answers are simply not in the notebook. The only thing that's in the notebook is a cloud object.
Right.
Okay. Now, how do we prevent well, I see it at the very least, then the student, if they have the cloud object right there, could check an answer against the cloud object. But so long as the permissions are set correctly on the cloud object, they cannot get the cloud object.
That's right. And we also have, it uses cloud authentication, and we have like a max submissions option. I don't remember the exact name, where any given student can only submit so many times. By default,
fine,
it's infinity.
fine. But
you can
my
limit it.
point is that if you could get the cloud object contents, you could do the same thing that we talked about for the local notebook.
Right. But the permissions, the external bundle
permissions
has
don't allow it.
many endpoints. Some of them are public, or
Okay,
we
fine.
have teacher permission,
basically,
a
it
teacher
doesn't
group,
allow
and a
it.
yes.
The permissions don't allow
The
it.
permissions don't allow it.
However, the permissions do have to allow execute access. Otherwise, the person can't locally check their work.
Exactly.
Right. But the case where they are sort of a blind grading, so to speak, happening not visible to the student, that would then have permissions where they couldn't even execute the cloud object, right?
Right. We invented new permissions terms for like a student and teacher. I don't remember what we called them, but
Okay.
yeah, you can set students to like a permission group and teachers to a permission group, and those people have the expected privileges.
Right. A is mentioned in the live stream. What about anti-cheat system, about randomization of question order, randomization of numerical answers? Yes, those are things that the framework we have will make it rather easy to do. But the GUI, which we were looking at here, is for the simpler case where you're not doing that. That's what question generators are for, right, guys?
That's right. It was certainly that random numerical value thing. The reordering of groups of questions isn't something we've really thought about.
Is it a good idea?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, we have thought about a question pool, which might sort of do that as
Well,
well.
that's different.
Kind of related.
Well, if you give every answer from a question pool, then it's the same thing, right?
I don't understand. I mean, you're saying if you pick random sample from the pool,
Right. If you have a
And-
pool with 4 questions and you choose 4 of them randomly, then it's the same as
obviously that's
Randomly
random
yeah.
sample. Right.
Right,
It can be
right.
permutation.
one
Some
argument random
permutation.
sample. Right.
Yes.
So I guess we do have a solution for that.
Right. And various comments here about, I mean, look, we have the capability to do all kinds of cool security things here. I think we first have to get our main functionality up and running, and then securing it, like, throwing answers onto a blockchain and things like this are, nice featurettes that I think we can layer in later. Once we understand that the flow is working and so on. I mean, a lot of what we've been dealing with is things like different question types, where you can do things like, pin the tail on the donkey type thing, and do you hit the right place in the picture, those kinds of things. Plus, of course, we have a lot of our own stuff using natural language and so on. Okay, let's see. Philippe comments that work And EdTech that uses quizzes as their main functionality. Yeah, well, this is our world this is the thing you get by having this giant technology stack that we have, is all these little turnkey things people really want, we end up building, and then we have a very powerful version of them because they leverage all of the rest of our technology stack. But yeah, it's remarkable how complicated the workflow is for things like quizzes, as we are finding out. All right, is there anything else we should make sure to cover in this meeting?
No, I think we've covered what we wanted to.
Actually, we've covered more than you originally
Yeah,
signed us up to cover.
like
This
you
was
like you
not
said,
the best prepared
yes.
meeting, and you probably should have said to cancel it when all right. Well, it looks very nice. I mean, I look forward to the next iteration when I can actually run it. When is it going into the main builds,
I think the next iteration will be in the main builds.
which will be when?
the things to do on that PR, or are we just waiting for some reviewers to sign off on it?
I think we're waiting on reviewers right now. And then you'll be able to just run some code. It'll be good.
Okay. Well, sounds good. Let's wrap it up. Okay. Thanks, guys. And thanks to folks on the live stream. And I'm glad that there are people there who are interested in this functionality. We look forward to getting it out very soon.